We're nearly there. We'll look today at verses 19 through 23, continuing to put these pieces together. Hope it's starting to get fun for you. Kai haute estin he marturia tu Ioannou, hate ap estelon pros auton hoi Iudaioi ex Hierusalumon hieres kai luitas hina erotesosin auton su tis a. And hopefully by now you're so used to looking at prepositions and their objects, I hardly need to do this. But we have pros here with the accusative, to him. Pros always takes the accusative. We have ek, here ex, with the genitive. Hierusalumon is a hard word, and again, names often decline oddly. This is genitive singular here rather than plural. Looking first then at this first phrase, this is the witness of John. Fairly straightforward here. Haute, hopefully you see that rough breathing and accent, and that makes you think near demonstrative. Remember that you got a to, or you have a rough breathing and accent, and otherwise, this looks very much like the third person pronoun. So haute, this is a form of Amy, the witness. So, he martyria, what case number and gender of this noun? Pretty easy, right? Nominative, singular, feminine. We have our nominative, singular, feminine article, and then this ending here, nominative, singular, feminine. So, recognize nominative, to be verb, nominative. This is the witness, predicate nominative. And then, what witness? The witness of John, to Ioannou. What case? Hopefully so easy for you. Genitive singular, right? So we use our keyword of. This is the witness of John. I drag a me in here because it's so important to recognize these. Estin, see it down here, third person singular, he, she, or it is. This is the testimony of John. Now this next phrase is sort of long and a little bit confusing unless you recognize the cases. What's the subject? What's the object here? Okay, so this is the witness of John when, let's just read it literally. They sent to him the Jews from Jerusalem, priests and Levites, in order that they might ask him, okay, we have all these subjects and we're not clear who's doing the sending and who's going and those sorts of things until we start to look at the case endings. Let's quickly look at the verbs in this phrase first. Here we have they sent, and you can tell from the translation that it's aorist, but look at this one, apestelon from apostello. Okay, we see the augment here between the preposition and the verbal, that's typical. And why no sigma there if it's an aorist? Shouldn't it be sigma alpha? Ding, ding, ding. Hopefully you saw the lambda. It's a liquid. And if you look down here in the principal parts chart, you can see it's apestela. Often with the liquid aorist, you have a little bit of a vowel change like that. And remember, after lambda, mu, nu, and rho, when you're expecting a sigma and it's not there, it's almost certainly a liquid aorist. So this is just a liquid aorist, active indicative, third person plural. They sent. And then down here, it's in order that they might ask. As soon as you see hina, you're thinking what? Subjunctive, right? And then you look at your verb, erotesosin. You see this big fat vowel there. You think, yep, there's the subjunctive. And remember, with the subjunctive, you only have to wonder, is it present or is it aorist? And because you see the sigma there, you think aorist, right? So erotesa is the aorist tense stem there. And you'll notice that the stem is de-augmented. Instead of erotesosin, it's because remember, there's no augment in the subjunctive mood. And we see this over and over again, that before the ending, that the contract vowel will lengthen. This alpha here becomes an eta here. Same thing happens here. Erote and then we have the fat vowel, so seen. All makes sense. Okay, they sent in order that they might ask. So who's sending and who's asking? Well, the first one's pretty easy. Hoi is clearly our nominative plural, masculine. So the Jews, and we'll find in John, the Jews is a very common subject, okay? So hoi iodaioi, the Jewish people, the Jewish one, the Jews from Jerusalem, that's a plural, nominative plural, so that makes sense that this would go with the one sending. The Jews are the subject of this verb. The Jews sent to him, notice accusative case, so this they're sending to John. Now, what about the priests and Levites? Well, this one's a little trickier because hieres is one of those that has that odd declension. Remember, these are both third declension, and they're not common, so these are both tricky. But this ace ending, notice here, could be either nominative or accusative plural. And so, as a matter of fact, here, of course, it's accusative plural. So, priests, they sent priests, and luitas, this is also accusative plural. So, those are a little tricky. I'll give you that. But, so, the Jews from Jerusalem, they sent, and here's the object, they sent priests and Levites in order that they might ask him. Now, who's the they? Well, in this case, it's ambiguous. It's probably the Jews are sending the priests and Levites in order that the priests and Levites might ask him, who are you? So that's probably it. But this they could possibly even refer back to the Jews. That's less likely, but it's ambiguous here. And then our question here, su tis a. Su is our second person pronoun, nominative singular. You, tis is the interrogative pronoun. Notice the accent. So who, and then a. Again, so important to recognize the to be verbs here. A me. So a, who you are. And really, this could have just been tis a, who are you? So this su here is unnecessary and emphatic. Who are you? Who do you think you are, almost? So again, let's read it and see if we can sort of follow it grammatically, and it makes sense in Greek as well as English here. Kai haute esten he martyria tu Ioannu, hate ap estelon pros auton hoi Iudaioi ex Hierusalumon, hieres kai luitas hina erotesosin auton sutis e. Kai homologesen, kai uk ernesata, kai homologesen hati ego uk emi ha Christos. Well, this one is pretty easy to translate. He confessed, and he didn't deny, he confessed that I am not the Christ. Okay, so let's look at our verbs for starters here. Homologesen. Okay, we don't know that verb. We would have to look it up, and we would find that it comes from homologeo. Homologeo is an interesting word. Homa, like homogenized, the same, okay? The same to say, lageo, I speak. So he agreed. He said the same thing. They were on the same page, okay? But it's not homa, but homa. So what happened between the omicron and the omega? You got this, right? Augment. And what's this doing here? Sin. When you see an augment and sin, get used to this ending. It's so common. Sin, right? Sa, sas, sen, samen, sata, san. That's the aorist case endings there. Okay? And so this is clearly then an aorist active indicative, third person singular. He confessed. And not he denied. So, ernesata. Well, you see that ending there. You see the sigma alpha. You're thinking aorist. You see the sata. You're thinking aorist middle, right? Sata. And you suspect deponent. And sure enough, when you look this word up, you come up with arneamai, and it is indeed a deponent in the aorist tense stem as well. So sure enough, this is an aorist middle indicative, third person singular, translated actively. There we go. Not he denied. He confessed, not he denied. And then we have exactly the same form here. And he confessed. We're saying this twice. He confessed this. He confessed this. What did he confess? He confessed that, and sometimes you'll see in Greek that this word hati, it's almost like quotation marks here. He confessed, quote, uk ego uk emi ha Christos. I am not the Christ, okay? So let's look at this. Ego uk emi ha Christos. Ego, hopefully you remember that one, right? Our first person pronoun, ego, the ego, is just I. I, not, uk, emi. Here we go again. I am, emi, the first person singular form. And then ha Christos, nominative singular masculine, of course. So, ego, uk, emi, ha Christos. And again, this could have just been uk, emi, ha Christos. Very clear. I am not the Christ. But it's ego, uk, emi, ha Christos. I am not the Christ. Historically, it's kind of interesting that there seems to have been such a loyalty to John the Baptist that there's this tension in John. You see this also in the book of Acts, where some people were so loyal to John that they had to be reminded, hey, John's role was not to be the Christ, but to point to the Christ. Kai homologesen, kai uk ernesata, kai homologesen hati ego uk emi ha Christos. Kai erotesan auton teun su Elias kai lege uk emi ha prophetes su kai apokrythe u. Well, here especially punctuation is your friend. It's obviously a dialogue. So they asked him, comma, what then? Are you Elijah? See the question mark, of course. And he says, comma, not I am, ukemi, period. Okay. The prophet, are you? Question mark. In other words, are you the prophet? And apokrythe, he answered, comma, no. And you can see why I harp so much on the pronouns. They asked him, auton. You just have to see that him, right? Teun. Therefore what? Okay. Te, interrogative pronoun, we have the accent. And notice it's te, not tis, which is why we say, what then? In other words, they're not asking him in this instance, who are you, but what are you? Okay. What therefore? And then we have two examples of su, second person pronoun. Su, are you Elijah? And here, are you the prophet? And again, these two V verbs jumping out at you here. A, Elijah, are you? A, second singular, right? And we have it here. The prophet, are you? And here we have uk emi, not I am. So can't say it enough, this to be verb, really important. And let's look at the rest of the verbs here. Erotesan here. What's going on with this one? They asked. Well, it's from erotao here. So how did ero become ero? Augment, right? And you see this son ending. So hopefully that reminds you of this guy right here. We have an augment, sigma alpha, third person plural. Now you'll notice that this is, in fact, a contract verb. And so before the case ending here, we have the lengthened vowel, erotesa. So just like here, sa sen, samen sata san. Here it is, san, erotesan. Aorist, active, indicative, third person plural. They asked him, who are you? Are you Elijah? And he says, lege, easy, right? Because we learned lego, I say speak, And the present tense endings are, for some reason, the easiest. O, eis, e, amen, eta, usi. So he says, "Are you the prophet?" And he answered, apokrythe. Now this one doesn't show up in our principal parts chart. It's fairly common, but it's not used more than 50 times. So apokrythe. It's from apokrynomai. So op-a became here op-e. So there's our augment. And what else do you see here? Theta eta. So this is an aorist passive indicative third person singular. Right here is the ending. So why is it translated actively? Because it's deponent. So not he was answered, but no, he answered. Apokrythe, he answered no. Again, reading with hopefully some level of understanding. Kai erote san auton teun su Elias e? Kai lege uk emi. Ha prophetes e su? Kai apokrythe u. Epon un auto tis e. Hina apokrysin domen tois pimsasin hemas. Te leges peri seautu. Pronouns everywhere here, so got to learn to see these guys. Auto, they said to him. So here's auto. Tis a, who are you? Or down here, what do you say? Te, notice the difference here. Tis, nominative singular masculine, therefore who. And te, down here, nominative singular neuter, therefore it's what? Tis and te, with the accent, is the interrogative pronoun. All right, what will we say? What answer shall we give to those sending hemas, us? Once again, we got to learn to recognize these guys. Hemas, us, first person pronoun. And then we have seautu, a reflexive pronoun. Se, like yourself. What will we say? Peri seautu. And notice peri takes the genitive, means concerning here. The only noun in this verse is apokrysis, which in this case is apokrysin. Now this is that third declension ending like charis, which in the accusative singular ends with a noon. So apokrysin, in order that we might give answer. So that's the accusative receiving the action of the verb. Looking here at the verbs, epon un auto. So they said therefore to him, epon, hopefully a form you're getting used to from Lego. That second aorist is really important. Now this one's a little odd because we expect that in the first person singular and third person plural too, you would have omicron noon. But epon becomes alpha noon in the third person plural. It just does, sorry. Okay, so they said, second aorist form of Lego, they said therefore to him, who are you, in order that answer we may give. Now, you saw the hina, right? So as soon as you see hina, you're looking for some big fat vowels, subjunctives. Domen, answer we may give. Domen is from didomi. And you'll notice that you don't see the present tense stem in this. It's changed. It's become aorist. De-augmented aorist, right? There's no epsilon, not edomen, because we don't augment the subjunctive. But we can recognize that first person plural. So we may give to those sending us. What do you say? Te leges. Now we recognize, again, Lego, right? But in this case, it's nice and easy. It's just your good old present active indicative, second person singular. O, ace, a. So ace, you say. What you say about yourself. The last thing to notice here is the participle. We might give an answer, tois pimpsasin. Now, English literal translation is really weird here. The sending us. But remember, in Greek, because participles give us the case, number, and gender, they can act much more substantively. And that's the case here. Notice we have our article, And because we know tois is dative plural masculine, we know that this will be as well. Now that ending might sort of confuse us. Remember from pimpo, I send, becomes pimpsasin. Do you see the sigma alpha in there? So that's aorist, right? And that's dative plural form right here. Sasin. So that's a dative plural masculine. So that we may give an answer to the one sending us. Oh, is it all snapping together like a beautiful puzzle for you here? Let's read it. Epon un auto tis a. Hina apocrasin domen tois pimpsasin hemas. Te leges peri se autu. Efe, ego phone baontas in te eremo. Euthunata ten hadan kuriu. Kathos apen Esaias ha prophetes. We will take this a phrase at a time here. Of course, it is a quotation from Isaiah, and it's a quote from the Septuagint, which is the Greek translation of the Hebrew Old Testament, which was very popular and used a lot by the early Christians in the first century. So it begins with, he said, Efe. Now wait, what's this one? Well, this is a verb that's only used in two of its tense stems. Phemi, which is the present, and you can see it's a me verb. And then in the aorist, it's actually a second aorist, Efe. So I say, and Efe is I said. And in this case, he said. So he said, ego, oh, I shouldn't have to drag this in anymore, right? Ego is just our nominative singular first person pronoun. I, voice, phone, nominative singular feminine, right? We could see that right here. I voice, and of course we add the to be verb. I am a voice, crying out, and then we have in with the dative, right? So easy to see that. Now you might notice that this is sort of an odd dative because you would expect here, this is a dative singular feminine, and so you would expect this to be an eta with an iota subscript. This is an example of a second declension feminine noun. But you see how little that really matters. Who cares? It's in with a dative, whether it's first or second declension. So I am a voice crying out, baontas. We would have to look this one up. It's from ba'ao, and you can see that the contract verb here, the vowel alpha, combined with the omicron of ontas here to become ontas, ba'ontas. But we recognize it as a present active participle, and this case, because it's third declension, we're looking at genitive singular masculine. Now, what does this match with? There's no genitives in this verse at all. I am a voice crying in the wilderness. Well, here's something that Greeks did, is sometimes when they wanted to say something parenthetically, they would use a genitive participle. It's called genitive absolute is the fancy name for it, but I am a voice crying in the wilderness. And what is the voice crying out? Euthunata tain hadan kuriu. Make straight the way of the Lord. Tain hadan, we recognize those as accusative. And hadan actually turns out, here we go again. It's another second declension. See this? It's a second declension feminine. And I know it's feminine because of the article. The article never lies. So tain hadan. But it doesn't matter. It's clear that's accusative. Make straight the way. So that's receiving the action. The way. Kuriu, of the Lord. Genitive there. So we use our keyword of. But what about this verb? Euthunata is from euthuno. Now we would of course have to look that one up. But it means make straight or make beautiful. You is like good in Greek. You a euphemism, pretending something good that is good that's not, a euphemism. So euthunata, make straight the way of the Lord, from euthuno. Okay, well, what's going on with this one? We have euthun ate. It looks to me like with the ate ending, we would expect a sigma here, like euthun sate. What happened to this sigma? See the problem? liquid consonant there. Lambda, mu, nu, and rho. And remember, we dropped the sigmas after the liquids. So this is actually an imperative. Now we know it's not an indicative because in an indicative mood, the aorist would augment. But this hasn't changed, has it? Euthun ate. So this is an aorist active imperative, second person plural. Y'all make straight the way of the Lord. Just as kathos epen Esaias ha prophetes. Remember that thing right there with the double dot? The double dot is a diaresis. And remember, it means that iota gets its own vowel, Esaias, like that, Esaias. Okay, kathos, he said, Isaiah the prophet. So, ha prophetes, this is the subject, and of course it's Isaiah the prophet said. Apen, do you remember that one? What's the lexical form? Shall I drag it up here? We've seen this a whole bunch of times, right? Lego is, I say, the second aorist, apon, and this is our third person singular ending in the aorist. Are you noticing you see that a lot? In on the end of aorist verbs. So, just as Isaiah the prophet said. So there you have it, the end of the road. I hope you've enjoyed this journey through Greek grammar. Now, it really starts to get fun when you start to put it together and see it come alive. And I know that as we're putting all these pieces together for the first time, really, in John 1, it's probably a little bit blowing your mind. But that's okay. It will get easier and easier. And I hope you'll be able to continue on with me into John. But if not with me, I hope with someone else or even on your own that you will have the opportunity to continue to study the scriptures in Greek.